What's up, guys, and welcome to the show. I got the man, Dean Thomas, of Deep Waters fame, Dean Thomas, as always, joining me. We're going to be talking about the main event of UFC Freedom 250. Dean, we're at the White House. How great! I mean, I'm here. You're coming soon, yeah?
I'll be there Wednesday night. I'm just so almost speechless in terms of how we got here and what we're doing here and what's going on here. Just the idea, and I mean that in a way because I come from the old days of
Yeah.
just being in bars and just being such an outcast and not being taken seriously as a sport,
Yes.
and fighting our way through this, trying to really present MMA in a way in which it's easily digestible to people. And now here we are at the White House.
It was not that long ago that we had high-ranking politicians calling this human cockfighting and trying to get it completely banned everywhere. It was not that long ago, Dean, and here we are at the White House having an event on the lawn of the White House is so insane. Like, we've been talking about it so long that it's kind of like anything, you can get a little numb to it in a sense. But if you really sit back and think about the fact that we are having UFC fights on the White House lawn, and listen, I've seen online people feel very different about this, depending. But I would like to make the argument that this is a very cool way to celebrate a lot of the spirit of America that I think is reflected in the fighting spirit of the UFC, the maverickness of doing wild things, of the ambition. I mean, all of it. I do think it's a great way to kick off the 250th birthday of our great nation.
Yeah, again, like this, it's a kind of a polarizing subject to be talking about a UFC
It
fight
is.
being thrown at the White House. But I think for a fan, not a fan, a real MMA enthusiast, like you have to appreciate it. You have to. After being what we've been through, just riding along this wild journey of trying to present MMA to the public and to people, and then now being accepted into this, like you have to appreciate that. And if you don't appreciate that, you're just out of your mind. Then maybe you just don't like MMA at all. Like maybe that's just what it is. You just
And
you
that's all
just
right.
don't like it at all, and that's right.
Right.
That's
You're
okay.
probably not watching this channel if you don't like MMA.
Yeah,
So
and that's okay. But and again, I don't want to come off as like, oh, people, oh, you a Dana bootlicker, whatever. I'll say this: like spending time with him, just knowing his personality and his ambition, for him to be able to pull this off is just miraculous. And I don't really know where we go from here because think about like during COVID, he was the
I
first to do
know.
it during COVID. Like even with like ideas like the Ultimate Fighter, like just the the ambition that he has and he's able to pull this off is
The
just it's
moon? I don't know.
outstanding. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, where do we go from here? The moon, but it's outstanding. It's extraordinary the levels of what has been accomplished by
Yeah.
doing this,
I won't
considering where we came from.
I won't geek out about it too much because I don't have any visuals to share. But I walked over there when I first got here just because I was so anxious to see what it's looking like. And we still obviously have, what, 6 days to go. They are building so much shit over there. And my special, they've got everybody very secure. Like, you're only allowed to go in your area. So I can't even go on the South Lawn. I'm an ellipse only girl. But what they are building on the ellipse is unbelievable. And that stage I am going to be on is so big, Dean, is so big and so intimidating, but your girl's going to do it. We're going to do it.
We're gonna get it done. I'll tell you this. I don't know how I can present this to the people, but I'll be getting a tour on the South Lawn on Thursday morning. I don't know if there's a way where I can sneak it to the fans somehow, but I'll be getting a tour on Thursday.
So jealous. I'm so
Yeah.
jealous. That's awesome. Good for you. Very, very cool. Yeah, you're going to be right up in the action, right on the South Lawn, right by the president. I mean, I don't know if you're allowed to take pictures, but maybe take some secret ones because I
I
want to
mean,
see.
you know what I'm saying? Like it's a secret place. Like how could I not be secretive? I got to do my spy stuff. I got to be out there. You know what? I got to put my meta glasses on
I
and be
was going
like,
to say. They're probably checking everybody for those. All
yeah,
right, we belabored the point enough. We are here to talk about the main event of UFC Freedom 250, and what a doozy of a main event it is. Ilia Topuria versus Justin Gaethje. The lightweight title unification moment is upon us. It's a huge fight in every single sense, Dean. And actually, before I get into that, I always screw this up. This is the moment where I have to request a like and a subscribe from the followers. We appreciate you guys very, very much. It does help us out. Every time you comment, you like, you subscribe, helps us keep this thing going. And then second of all, we are going to get to the fan questions at the end of the video. So when Dean and I are done discussing everything, we're going to get to some fan questions that I asked for on my Instagram. I always just get really excited when I start talking to you and I forget what I'm supposed to do housekeeping wise. Okay, before we talk about the details of the fight, big picture take on this fight in particular and the moment, and again, kind of what it means to be having it here and these two guys in particular.
You have to put things in the perspective to talk about this fight in particular in terms of who they are and what they've accomplished. Because Ilia Topuria right now, he's the man. Think about it, he's Justin Timberlake in the 2000s. Like he's the man, right? But him being the man comes down to three moments basically: knocking out Volkanovski, knocking out Max, and knocking out Charles. And that's very fair to call him the man for doing those things. And then when you add that into everything else he's done, he's still undefeated. He's he's perfect. He's the man. And then you got Justin Gaethje, who has been the man for a long time. Has had his ups and downs, which is also important in this because, and he talked about that numbness that he has, that he doesn't care. And that's because he's been through so much in this game. He's been through the ups and downs. He knows what it feels like to lose. He don't have this pressure on him to go out here and do something fantastic because he don't need to. He knows what he's capable of, which means that he can just go out there free and fight as hard as he can. And he is the interim champion and former BMF champion.
Yep. Listen, I watched Deep Waters earlier, at least part of it, and I can't remember who it was, but it might have been Dustin that was saying that they didn't love that quote from Gaethje that was he doesn't care if he wins or loses, he's just going to go out there and fire missiles on the White House lawn, whatever the quote was. On the other hand, I love that attitude from Justin Gaethje. I absolutely love it because it's not truly, of course he cares if he wins. He's trying to articulate a acceptance of any outcome, a true soul. I will not be a lesser man even if I get knocked out. I will not be a lesser man if I'm not able to win this fight. And when I genuinely feel like when you are able to do that, and it's different for every fighter, of course, but in Justin's case, that is what makes him so dangerous, so entertaining. And in this fight in particular, he's not going to be swallowed up by the moment, and he's not going to be swallowed up by the opponent standing ahead of him. And that's going to make him so more dangerous than ever.
And that's important to note. And you're right about this. Like the language that we use to be able to articulate what we think and our emotion is so important, because if he were to say, man, this is the last chance I have, biggest fight of my life. Yeah. I have to go out there and I have to be the best. I have to win. I have to do this. You know what type of performances we get like that? That's the type of mindset that guys like Johnny Walker and Dominic Reyes had in their fight. Is that they couldn't lose, they couldn't accept defeat, and what happens is that you have the lamest performance ever. There is a certain power. There's a lot of power in the idea that the outcome doesn't matter. I got to go and fight my best fight. Now, if you put that along with you couple that with the idea that I'm still going to do my best to win.
Of course.
I mean, you got a really dangerous opponent.
100%. 100%. I'm going to run through some stats real quick before we talk about what the fight might actually look like. We've got Ilia Topuria versus Justin Gaethje, of course. Ilia 17-0, Justin Gaethje 27-5. Topuria 9-0 in the UFC, Gaethje 10-5 in the UFC. Topuria has 6 knockouts, 1 submission, and 2 decisions in the UFC. Gaethje 6 knockouts and 4 decisions in the UFC. 5'7" versus 5'11" on paper. I feel like that's more of a height discrepancy, but
It looked like more. I thought you was going to say less because we on Deep Waters, they thought it wasn't that bad. When they stood face to face, it looked pretty bad.
I'm not trying to. I mean, Ilia Topuria is one of my favorite fighters. I don't feel like he's 5'7". I really don't. I've stood next to him, and granted, I was in heels, but I was taller than he was, and I'm 5'5". So I guess, yeah, you put 3 inches of heel on me, and he's maybe in his slides because it was after a fight. He's not a super tall guy. Thick guy, incredibly talented, powerful guy. Not a tall guy. Justin Gaethje, definitely 5'11". So, yeah, there's a pretty big height difference. Interestingly, only 1 inch in reach difference. Ilia Topuria, 69-inch reach, 70 for Justin Gaethje. Ilia's 29 years old. Justin Gaethje's 37, so pretty big age gap there. Knockdown average per 15 minutes for Ilia Topuria is 1.25, which is quite high. 0.74 for Justin Gaethje. Striking accuracy, 48.2% for Ilia. 58.5% for Justin. That's very, very high. Strikes landed per minute for Ilia, 4.81. 6.48 for Justin. Justin's a much busier fighter. Striking defense, 64.1 for Ilia. That's very high. 51.4% for Justin. This is also where it gets interesting. 3.83 strikes absorbed per minute for Ilia. 7 for Justin. That's just his fighting style. And then takedown accuracy. I don't know that we necessarily need to go into all of these. Takedown defense for Ilia, 93.8%, 74.1% for Justin, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe I'll refer back to some of those if we get into some more details there. But the headline all week, at least that I have seen, is that the odds are pretty far apart between these two. Ilia is heavily, heavily favored. And I get it. I do understand why. But not a lot of people are necessarily giving Justin a great chance in this fight. I don't want to give away too much of my thoughts, but I think he's got a very good chance in this fight. Maybe not like he wouldn't be the person that I would pick to have the odds in their favor. But I do think he's got a very good chance. Before we get to all that, though, Ilia is getting those odds because he is special, right? Like you talked about in the beginning, that hat trick of knockouts, in my opinion, is the best in UFC history, at least in terms of 3 knockouts in a row, who they were against. He's damn near perfect. What sticks out to you when you watch him fight? What do you really appreciate about Ilia Topuria?
His discipline is the most important thing about him. I think that really separates him from everybody else is that he's so disciplined in his approach. He rarely gets out of position. And he does something that I always try to teach young fighters or all fighters not to do. If you're in a hole, stop digging. And just meaning that, like, if you're in a bad position, don't continue to keep going forward from a bad. Go backwards to get into your position. So if you're in a bad position, go backwards. And that's one thing that he does. If he ever finds himself out of position, he's not going to try to fight his way into position. He's going to go backwards to get back in position and then fight. And he's really good at that. He's really, there's been times where he'll have a swing and a miss, but he'll just stop. He's not going to try to punch his way back into his spot. He'll just stop, get back in position, check himself, and then go again. He'll just stop. And that's really, it takes a lot of discipline and a lot of confidence to do that. Like, you really have to know that you can knock people out, that it's going to come. And this is one thing that I did say today is that he has this, he might be, him and Alex Pereira might be the only 2 guys in the UFC that can do nothing and it be exciting.
Yep.
Because like when we watch fighters that are doing nothing, we're just like, boo! Tomatoes! Boo! But when you're watching them do nothing, you just know.
You're just on the edge of your seat. You're
just, it's like the music is playing like doom, doom.
Yeah, it's
something's gonna happen.
Riveting. It's riveting because you know that at any instant he's going to land something of consequence. But it's funny that you say that because he is a guy that has long spans of quote unquote doing nothing. Now, of course, he's doing something, but he's in that sense, he is a very efficient fighter. He doesn't do a lot in terms of like, he doesn't have a huge arsenal of strikes. I'm sure he has them if he wants them, but in terms of what he actually applies, he's very fundamental in terms of what he throws. The man never throws a head kick, right? Rarely throws above the waist. straight shots, goes to the body like beautifully. But it all comes down to his footwork and his fundamentals. But somehow he makes that like the most electrifying thing ever.
Yeah, and like you said, and a part of his efficiency is just knowing how to punch properly and really prioritizing the technique of a punch. I said this to a guy, Eric Sermonera, the other day, that I once had a strength and conditioning coach tell me, he goes, "You already know how to punch, you just need to get bigger and stronger and faster." And I was like, "You're out of your damn mind.
Yeah.
You're fired." It was just 15 years ago, so I bought into it. Today I know better. But I say that to say this, is that throwing a punch, which seems like a punch, it can be very difficult to do, especially when you throw it right, mechanically right. And Ilia Topuria almost never misses in terms of his mechanics when he throws a punch. Now, I'll give you another illustration. I was watching a video with Tom Brady talking about throwing a football. He was saying that most guys throw football and they open up real big and they throw the football and it causes a lot of the power to go out this way and the ball doesn't hit the right spot, or just it takes more energy. So, and when you watch Ilia Topuria punch, everything is in this small little pocket. Yeah. He doesn't open up. Everything is really small, and it always is, and it doesn't require a lot of energy to do that. It's not a strength issue. It's not a power issue. It's a body mechanics issue. And he almost never misses in terms of his body mechanics when he's throwing punches.
Yeah, he's very incredibly clean boxing, footwork, positioning, and mechanics. I mean, they're beautiful. They're exactly what every instructor would show in terms of like, this is what X should look like, this is what Y should look like. And on the flip side, you've got Justin Gaethje, who isn't necessarily as mechanically perfect, but he is your fighter's favorite fighter for a reason. And a lot of that reason, I think, does go back to the mentality that we touched on at the top of this video, where he has cultivated this sort of like disregard for his own personal safety and is willing to walk into the fire in a fight in a way that not everyone is willing to do. And sometimes he pays for it, and sometimes he makes his opponent pay for it. I love Justin Gaethje so much. And I do feel like he sometimes doesn't get the credit he should get for his technique as well. I think over time, Trevor Whitman, when you go back and watch his World Series of Fighting, it's like that guy was just kicking people and was wild, absolutely wild. And you look at him now, and there is clearly a lot of work that has gone into his tactics, his fight IQ, the way that he approaches different combinations. But he's not the tactician necessarily that Ilia is. Do you have a favorite Justin Gaethje knockout that comes to mind?
I wouldn't say a favorite knockout, but I would say a favorite performance. And I think I would have to say in Jacksonville during COVID was Tony Ferguson, how he was lighting Tony Ferguson up. I mean, it was such a strong performance, and it was in an empty building in Jacksonville, and you could hear everything. And it was the beginning it was the first domino in Tony Ferguson's career. Yeah. And you can attribute that to Justin Gaethje. Now, talking about Justin Gaethje in comparison in terms of like that skill set, one thing that I call this the levels of competence. And the first level of competence for fighters is how you do what you do in terms of like your mechanics, your positioning, and that's just regardless of any other circumstances, what you're doing. The second level of confidence is how you do with another person. Can you do that with another person? Now, while Justin Gaethje might not have the same level of competence as Ilia Topuria in the first level, in the second level, he's able to understand the distance of when he's throwing punches, hitting his targets, things like that. And there's been guys that's been extremely successful in the UFC by being able to do that. Not looking all that pretty, but just being so good at being able to touch the targets of another person in front of them and do damage. And Justin Gaethje might lead the pack in being able to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love, and I love Dustin as well, so I hate to bring this up, but his head kick knockout of Dustin Poirier to me was just fantastic. I've always loved Justin's kicks to the leg, the inside leg kick. I mean, again, watching him World Series of Fighting all the way to his entrance in the UFC, he kicks like nobody else. I mean, there are other good kickers, of course, but I mean, I remember when he fought Edson Barboza, I was like, this is going to be so horrendous to watch, and horrendous in a great way.
Well,
I,
I
yeah,
think about that, but that's again, that's all the context involved with his performances. You got to take into account the opponent. You got
yeah,
to take into account the opponent when he fought Max Holloway. Max Holloway, we thought Max Holloway didn't even deserve that fight. So you have to imagine that Justin in his head was thinking, he's a 45er. He's not going to beat me. That's impossible. And then when he fought, some of the other like Patty, he was a little wild and sloppy because he knew he can get away with that.
yeah.
You got to take into account that now he knows he's fighting a guy so clean that he's going to have to be better technically. And I think that he's very capable of that because we've seen him do that against Fiziev when we thought Fiziev was going to kick his butt the first time.
Yep. I feel like this is gonna get me a lot of hate potentially. And I only approach it this way because Ilia is so on a pedestal, and he's on a pedestal in my mind as well. But sometimes I try to like deconstruct the pedestal. Like, how did we get here? And does this pedestal really need to be as high as it is? And it probably does. But if you want to play devil's advocate about Ilia Topuria, it's not as though he's never been hit. And it's not as though he finishes everybody, right? So while it's easy to get enamored by his knockouts, which were unbelievable. I just said they're the best three in the history of the UFC. Josh Emmett went 3 rounds and took a lot of heavy punches from Ilia Topuria. And Josh Emmett's been, horrendously knocked out before. So while Josh does have a good chin, it's not like Josh is some superhero that can't be touched up. He went the distance with Yusuf Zalal. He got, cracked by, I'm blanking on his name right now. But yeah, Jai Herbert. Now listen, I'm cherry picking.
No. It's only fair to cherry pick if we're going to cherry pick his 3 wins.
Exactly. I'm cherry picking moments and stitching them together to create a storyline, which is not always the correct thing to do. But when you're trying to, what I like to do in these videos is paint a case for either fighter, and not necessarily just sit here and like say how awesome Ilia is, because that's an easy video to make. But I do see a path for Justin. I don't think that every punch Ilia lands is going to put Justin out. And I do think that Justin has the ability to crack that lead leg, to make it a little bit more of a dust up. Like, when Ilia is at his best, it's when he's pushing guys back against the fence and finding his moment to get off on a beautiful combination. I guess what I see in terms of even a chance for Justin Gaethje is a little bit more of a scrappy fight and a lot of leg kicks, and maybe mixing in some takedowns, or at least the thought of a takedown. That's kind of at least where my brain has gone. How about you? What's a path you see for Justin?
I think the same thing, and you're right about that. We have to take into account that Bryce Mitchell had moments.
Yes, exactly.
And I can say this because I'm actually still in the process of watching Ryan Hall's new series called Outside Funk. It's fantastic. If you haven't gotten it yet, it's fantastic. And he didn't pay me to say this. I'm just telling you. But Ryan Hall is a wizard, and he avoided a lot of Ilia Topuria's stuff. Like, he was able to avoid it, just being aware of it, just being cognizant of it. And that's the thing, is if Justin Gaethje's aware of it and respects Ilia like we know he should, based on, he's got to be hearing the chatter. He's got to be hearing the chatter of, oh man, Ilia's going to be. So he's got to go. He can't take that and be afraid of him, but he's also got to use that as respect for Ilia, to be like, all right, so this guy is really dangerous. He can hit hard, but I'm not going to give him the opportunity to crack me on my chin like these other guys did. I can't give him that opportunity. If you go into a fight and not give the guy that opportunity, because I always tell people this, if you get knocked out, a good part of that is your fault. Mm-hmm. You allowed that. At some point you did this, or you was here at some point where a guy was able to whip you around. Mm-hmm. But if you just catch it a little bit, boop, or have your chin down and are able to absorb it, you're probably not going to get knocked out. Like, a guy like Justin probably doesn't get knocked out if he's here. Mm-hmm. So if he can stay there in moments and be very aware of those moments and use his angles and make it a little dirty at times, like you said, the leg kicks, and he has to get some respect from Ilia to be like, oh no, this guy, he can crack me too.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
Justin can head kick from boxing range. We
yeah,
talk about it all the time. And it's not just the Jai Herbert fight, but I remember when Volkanovski fought him, and obviously we know that that didn't end well for Volkanovski, but clearly Volkanovski comes from a camp that game plans very, very well. And Volk was throwing that head kick, probably a little bit too much, perhaps. But it was clear that his coaches also identified that it's not just the one time he got clipped by Jai Herbert, but that's potentially a spot that might be a weakness for him. And Justin Gaethje has a hell of a head kick. I could see that being a factor in this fight.
yeah. But I think the biggest factor for Justin in this fight that he has to establish, like, there's some certain things he has to establish, and I think one of them is he's got to get that respect, and I think he can get that respect by beating up the legs, because you can't allow Ilia to because here's the thing, that regardless of all of the stuff that we're talking about, the X's and O's, the one factor that you can't really prepare for is speed, and Ilia will be faster.
Yeah.
He's going to be a faster kicker. He's going to be a faster puncher. So Justin has to he has to slow him down somehow by hurting him so that the speed, he takes off a little bit of the speed of Ilia. If he can take off the speed of Ilia, he's got a real shot.
Yeah. He needs to do anything but box, Ilia.
Yeah. He can't stand there and get into a boxing match.
Yeah.
And that's pretty evident. Like, I think that's pretty evident.
Yeah, I agree. In Ilia's, on the flip side, for Ilia Topuria, what do you feel like he needs to do against Justin?
And that's the hard part, because it's not necessarily an easy path for victory for Ilia neither, because Ilia doesn't necessarily know how Justin's going to come out. You know, if Justin comes out and is just like, you know what, I don't care, I'm going to box with this guy. This is my, like, if he comes out and just does that, Ilia just perfect. I'll just stand and box with you. But if he comes out and he's moving, then he starts throwing kicks and he starts, wrestling a little bit. And he starts like fighting a really smarter type of fight.
Pinching and using that half collar tie and dirty boxing.
Then I think then that does present some challenges for Ilia. But I think for Ilia, he's got to try to twist those moments into his favor and just go, oh, you want to dirty box me? I'll dirty box you back. Mm-hmm. I'm faster than you. Yeah. And in fact, it's hard it can be difficult to dirty box a shorter guy.
Yeah.
So if that's the point, like if he starts doing that and Ilia picks up on that, he goes, I'll just dirty box you back. I have a lower center of gravity. I can get lower than you. I can disrupt your balance easier than you can mine. So I'll take you down. And so I think that Ilia, there's some adjustments that Ilia has to make to Gaethje if Gaethje does the right things.
Yeah, ripping that body. I love watching his body shots. Oh my gosh, they're gorgeous. How do you see this fight going? Ultimately?
All right, so, and this is always the hardest part.
I know.
It's very difficult for me in my head. Now, it's very difficult for me in my head to see on Sunday night Justin Gaethje winning. I still have to say that the majority of the times, if they were to fight, if they were to train, that Ilia would get the better of him. Mm-hmm. On Sunday night, with all the different factors, the lights and all that stuff, I think Ilia rises to the occasion even more and gets the better of him. I think Justin puts up a better fight than most people are giving him credit for. I think he makes it interesting at times. Mm-hmm. But I do think that the speed of Ilia is going to take over, and it'll be the deciding factor of the outcome. I think that Justin, he has his moments, and we go, oh, this is gonna be a good fight, and then, oh, all right, that's what was supposed to happen.
Ilia is just such a cool customer. He's so confident, and he's so chill. I do think it's interesting to see a little bit of actual back and forth between them now. With the. Did you see Ilia's response to Justin's comments about, I would have left you too?
Oh, that's crazy. I didn't see that. I've kind of stayed off of the junk. Just because
Justin, I'm paraphrasing, so don't come at me. But Justin basically said he thinks too much of himself. He thinks he's a god, blah, blah, blah. I find him incredibly annoying. I would leave him too, obviously referring to his ex-wife. And then Ilia cracked back today with that was just a bridge too far. That's the mother of my daughter, and you don't talk about anybody's mother, and it's on type of thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're actually getting a little chippy with each other. I don't know if that favors one or the other or affects either. I think Ilia's maybe a little bit more emotional, but he's Spanish. He probably fights better emotional, you know?
That's not that bad. But I can see Ilia using that as a little motivation to get him going. Because when you're such a heavy favorite and you think like you don't want to lose that. You don't want to lose your confidence along the way because we know how confidence plays on fighters. Like during fight week, cutting weight, media obligations, you start to lose a little confidence. So I could see him using this as a little bit of fuel to keep him extremely
Yeah,
hungry
on
going
it.
into this fight. Yeah, because
Yeah.
you don't want to lose. He can't lose any confidence going into
Yeah.
this.
All right. Well, I had a lot of responses on my Instagram post about questions. So I picked a handful. So sorry, the people who didn't make their question. We'll get you next time. I'm going to continue doing that because I like integrating the IG people over here. But big underscore T underscore 52 says, where does Justin Gaethje rank in the all-time ranking of MMA if he pulls this off?
Um, to be honest with you, nowhere. I mean,
Nowhere.
no. I mean,
Nowhere is quite the place, Dean.
well, I guess when I say that, I don't mean nowhere.
Not like top. He's not top three, but he's
No, I
somewhere.
mean it puts him, but like all time MMA. I mean, it's.
Yeah,
I
you're
mean,
talking about Fedor. You're talking.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we're talking top 20.
Yeah.
Top 20. But we're not talking about putting him on the Mount Rushmore or top 4 or
No,
top
but it
5.
would be
I mean, it might put
freaking.
him. I mean, it might put him on the top 5 of lightweights of all time. It might, but I mean, but not necessarily because it's not like Ilia has been a bona fide lightweight that he's beating.
Yeah, I know. There's
So
always
that's
those
my point. Is
caveats.
it doesn't really it does a lot for him Sunday night. It's like the immediate reward is there, but long term, depending on how the rest of Ilia's career goes, like will determine what a win would do. But I don't think it really does. For me, at least for me, I don't think it elevates his career that much. It's like having like a dope rapper having all these dope songs, then just comes out with another hit. Like you almost like it's a dope hit, but it doesn't make him the greatest of all time now. But I think it does do. It's going to do more for him Sunday night than it will his entire
And
career.
on a personal level, to finally get that albatross off his back and be a true undisputed
Yeah, for sure,
for him on
for
a
sure.
personal level, for sure. Irregular Greg. Oh, he's irregular. Should eat some more prunes. Irregular Greg. Have you or Dean ever had a fight outside? How did this affect the experience? I'll start. I have not fought outside, but I have called fights outside. And it was hot and it was muggy and it was the middle of summer in Kansas City. And I will say that one thing that it really genuinely changed, those guys, especially for grapplers, they were sweaty, they were drenched from the get. They were drenched walking out. And there was no, we always talk in the first round, like, oh, they're dry, they're fresh, whatever. There was none of that. So I do think it can affect the grappling a bit. And while I haven't fought in that, I used to train at this gym that was essentially like, it had no AC and it was just garage doors. And in July in Kansas City, it's as humid as it is here. I mean, literal puddles of sweat. We would be, I remember like your face would be pushed against the canvas and you'd be like, basically, one of your eyes would be in a puddle of 30 people's sweat. Yeah, yeah. That part of it is a thing. Although the canvas isn't going to get like that because the canvas is it's a different surface. It'll absorb it. But I think the body heat, the body moisture is kind of a thing for grapplers.
Yeah,
Right?
if in a grappling perspective, it could be challenging because they're going to be sweating more, and it could be challenging in that aspect. Now, I've never fought outside to answer the question. I've never fought outside, but my most memorable, uh, my most memorable moment of an outside fight was this one. It was I took, and I don't know if you're familiar with her, little K Rock. She hangs out with Kayla Harrison.
Probably. I
Yeah,
don't know her well, but yeah.
Taco is her name, and she hangs out with Kayla Harrison. Well, I took her to Panama to fight Piero Rodriguez.
Yes.
Before Piero Rodriguez was in the UFC.
Okay.
And they fought outside. And we knew it was going to be a problem. Like, we didn't know it was going to be outside till we got there. Then once we got out there, and the humidity in Panama is so bad. It's so miserable. And I mean, it was literally puddles in the cage, and they were slipping all over the place. And to this day, I don't think K-Rock has ever forgave me for putting her through that situation. Yeah, she still hasn't. I don't think she says she has, but I can tell she hasn't. She hasn't forgiven me for putting her to fight Piero Rodriguez in puddles in Panama. Yeah, it was really bad, and yeah, she still looks at me with a side eye now. But,
yeah, if you don't have the surface like you do on the UFC canvas, and the logos might be a problem.
The logos maybe, but
the logos may be, because I'll tell you, when it gets that sweaty, it really changes the grappling, because as soon as you go to post your hand, your hands falling out, your feet, you can't get your feet underneath you. So we'll see. I mean, I'm here for it. It's going to be an adventure.
But the UFC's canvas is pretty absorbent.
Very. I can't remember. Did the logos feel a lot different?
No. Well, they do, but still, you're not really looking for that, and like, unless you kind of catch it at the right time, it's a problem. But I think actually the moisture is going to help a lot of the fighters in terms of gripping.
That canvas, when it gets wet, that canvas gets more grippy. Like it's like a wet pair of jeans. Imagine a wet pair of jeans trying to get those on.
Very grippy. It's sticky, and I mean, and you see it all the time. Fighters are putting water on the floor to get their feet wet so that they can get better traction. So I think the humidity will help the traction and help the punchers out better. But in terms of grappling, once the humidity hits their skin and they start, it's going to be real slippery.
Yeah. Depending on the outcome of the Topuria versus Gaethje fight, do you think Ilia is moving up to 170 next? He's got to fight Armand.
I think he's going to want to. But I think it's also going to be kind of a George St. Pierre type thing too. George St. Pierre moved up to 185 because it was opportunistic for him to fight Michael Bisping. I think if you get a guy like Carlos Prates, like if he somehow gets his hands on the title, I don't see Ilia going, I want to go up to 170 and fight Carlos Prates. But I think it's safer for him to fight a guy like Islam.
You think?
I think it's safer for him, and more. It's a little easier for him to accept the fight against a guy like Islam, who's a grappler. He can defend the grappling. Is not a real power puncher or a sniper, and is not 7 feet tall with this wingspan. So I think it's ambitious of him to suggest it, and also I don't even think the UFC would allow it.
I was just going to say that Armand Sarukian's not going to allow. Armand has quite the following now. Like, Armand is an interesting, compelling character now, and I think can't be denied.
Well, he's got his own situations to deal with, at least coming back. I think he needs. He's the only guy I've ever seen get more popular. Well, he got more popular not fighting. Yeah. I don't think there's ever been a case of a guy getting this much more popular not fighting.
Yeah, he's done a good job of it. I want to see that fight. Yeah. Hopefully they make that happen. All right, I've got Austin, the girl dad. This is a fun one. Which founding father do you believe had the best striking or wrestling?
I mean, that's easy. The stories of Abe Lincoln back in the day, that.
I know. But I don't think he's technically a founding father, but we're going to put him in there because the man's in the Wrestling Hall of Fame, National Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Is he?
Yes, he was 301. I'm sure they didn't keep great track, but...
He had a Hickson Gracie record?
He was a catch wrestler.
Yeah, man. He looked like he's from Dagestan. So
yes.
He did 2-3 years in Dagestan and forgot.
He did 2-3 years. He sure did. That's why he had the job.
That's why he's such a good wrestler.
I never put 2 and 2 together on that. That's insane.
The founding fathers. Let me think.
Can I make a suggestion?
Please do.
I think George Washington was a snack. I bet he was a snack. 6'2".
George Washington was 6'2"?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yes, George Washington was 6'2", standing on that boat, and you read stuff. He was always doing feats of strength and.
For real?
I think he also wrestled in some form or another in the military and did quite well. But yeah, he was known as quite the athletic man.
I tell you, he just needed to do something different with that hair. They
And
needed
the wooden teeth. I don't know that I would have been
yeah,
a fan of the
wouldn't
wooden teeth.
and
But
the
other
hair
than
with
that,
the
total
yeah.
snack.
Outside of that, but I mean, they ain't really had the little dental plans like we had. He need better dental insurance.
Yeah.
But like outside of that, he was. I tell you, who wasn't Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin was at the media desk, at the media table.
Benjamin Franklin was into big ladies
Yeah.
and traveling the world and doing interesting things. Yes.
Yeah, so he's in the big ladies. Oh,
That's
he was like
that's the rumor.
he's yeah, that's my man. Well, talk about whale watching.
Dean just got back
I just got back from whale watching.
Dean just got back
Juneau, Alaska.
from a cruise in Alaska. Oh,
With Ben Franklin.
yeah. Good old Ben Franklin. What a way to end this video.
I love it.
Fantastic.
No, I love it.
Oh, this is great. Dean, thank you so much for taking the time. I cannot wait until Sunday. This fight is going to be absolutely insane. Guys, we thank you. We thank Dean. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your like and subscribe, and we will see you later this week.